guys, so today I'm going to go over how to do my uncle's favorite coffee shop assignment. So in this assignment, we're going to go and read and write just sentences and create a 15-word summary on my uncle's favorite coffee shop by Naomi Shihab Nye. It's due before midnight tonight, which is Tuesday, January 12th. And remember, tomorrow is the poetry quiz, so make sure you bring your notes. So now that we've gone over that, we're going to actually go and open the assignment in your Canvas modules. So in your Canvas modules, you're going to go down to week 2. Yesterday we did the new Colossus, which I made a video for it, and it's ready in the assignment. But we're doing my uncle's favorite coffee shop. So it says, students, today we will read, write just sentences, and write a 15-word summary on my uncle's favorite coffee shop. Please make sure to follow what I do in class. And so right now I'm recording that video in case you're missing any part of the assignment, and it's worth 10 points, and it's due before midnight tonight. So if you click on the little blue link, it makes it open over here. And so it says, my uncle's favorite coffee shop. So it says to read the following poem, afterwards write a just sentence for each stanza, and then write a 15-word summary of the poem. So at this point, I'm going to go and read the poem, and then we're going to go and write those just sentences, okay? So, my uncle's favorite coffee shop by Naomi Shihab Nye. Serum of steam rising from the cup, what comfort to be known personally by Barbara. Her perfect pouring hand and starched ascot, known as the 2 easy eggs and the single pancake without saying. What pleasure for an immigrant, anything without saying. My uncle slid into his booth. I cannot tell you how I love this place. He drained the water glass, noisily clinking his ice. My uncle hailed from an iceless region. He had definite ideas about water drinking. I cannot tell you all the time, but then he'd try. My uncle wore a white shirt every day of his life. He raised his hand against the roaring ocean and the television full of lies. He shook his head back and forth from one country to the other, and his ticket grew longer. Immigrants had double and nothing all at once. Immigrants drove the taxis and sold the beer, sold and cokes. When he found one note that rang true, he sang it over and over inside. Coffee, honey? His eyes roamed the couples at other booths, their loose banter and casual clothes, but he never became them. Uncle who finally left in a bravado moment after 23 years to live in the old country forever, to stay and never come back. Maybe it would be peaceful now, maybe for 1 minute. I cannot tell you how my heart has settled at last. But he followed us to the sidewalk, saying, take care, as if he could not stand to leave us. I cannot tell how we felt to learn that the week he arrived, he died, or how it is now, driving his parched streets, filling the booth beneath us as we order. Oh, anything, because if we don't, nothing will come. And so at this point, we're going to go and write those just sentences. So Miss J's going to go, and I'm going to go and open up the actual poem in here, and I translated it for some of the kids that need translations. So we know that this poem is set in a coffee shop because it is called my uncle's favorite coffee shop. And so he's talking about the steam rising from the cup of coffee. And he says, what comfort to be known personally by Barbara, her perfect pouring hand and starched ascot, known as the 2 easy eggs and the single pancake without saying. So Barbara is described as having perfect pouring hands and starched ascot. So Barbara is the waitress. Barbara's the waitress, and it seems like the uncle, because it is called my uncle's favorite coffee shop, says 2 easy eggs and a single pancake, which sounds like a breakfast order without saying. So Barbara knows the uncle's breakfast order without him having to say it, and it says, what pleasure for an immigrant, anything without saying. So here it talks about how as an immigrant, it's a pleasure to not have to talk anything without saying, you know. And so the uncle is talking about how he's in the coffee shop, Barbara the waitress knows his order, and he doesn't have to say anything because she already knows what he wants. So we're going to come over here, and we are going to go and write our just sentence. So our just sentence is going to be, the uncle seems to find belonging at the coffee shop where he doesn't have to say much. And that's the thing. he doesn't have to say much, so he feels like he belongs, you know? He feels like he belongs. So, at this point, if you need to go and pause the video, you can go and pause the video. So, we're going to go to stanza 2, and in stanza 2 it says, "My uncle slid into his booth. I cannot tell you how I love this place." So the uncle has his own booth because he's a regular. It's like when you go to Starbucks or McDonald's and you see people that are always there. That's how the uncle is. And he says, "I cannot tell you how I love this place." So the uncle is talking to the speaker and he's saying, "Oh, I cannot tell you. I don't have the words. I love this place." And he's drinking. It says he drained the water glass, noisily clinking his ice. So the uncle is drinking water and it's making a lot of noise because it has a lot of ice. It says, "My uncle hailed from an iceless region." So it means he comes from somewhere dry, maybe somewhere like a desert or with a hot climate, like a tropical climate. And he had definite ideas about water drinking. So that tells us that maybe there wasn't a lot of water where he's from. Maybe it was something like a resource that was very scarce. So he had, maybe appreciated the water. "I cannot tell you," all the time. But then he tried. So the uncle keeps repeating, "I cannot tell you, I cannot tell you." And so that tells me as a reader, and you as a reader also, that maybe he struggles with the language because he keeps repeating the same phrase over and over again. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write my second just sentence. "The uncle comes from somewhere dry, period. The uncle keeps repeating, 'I cannot tell,' because he struggles with the English language." And that's the thing. If you're somebody that's struggling with the English language, you're going to repeat the only words you know. And if you only know "I cannot tell," that's what you're going to repeat. So at this point, if you need to go and pause the video, you can go and pause the video. So let's look at stanza 3. In stanza 3 it says, this is our longest stanza, so be prepared. "My uncle wore a white shirt every day of his life. He raised his hand against the roaring ocean and the television of lies." So the uncle wore kind of like a uniform. He wore like the same thing every time he went to the coffee shop. I'm going to say that it's like a dress shirt because later on in the same stanza he talks about casual clothes, and casual clothes would imply like jeans and a shirt. So he's not wearing like a white shirt. He's wearing like a white dress shirt. So, "He raised his hand against the roaring ocean and the television full of lies. He shook his head back and forth from one country to the other, and his ticket grew longer." So the uncle is traveling back to his homeland and then coming back here. So, back to America. And so he keeps visiting and he keeps coming back and visiting and coming back. "Immigrants had double and nothing all at once." So this is the most important line in this poem. Immigrants had double and nothing all at once. And the thing is, being an immigrant, you have two of everything. You were born in one country, now you live here, so you have two countries. You speak two languages, your home language in English. You have two jobs. You had a job in your home country, and now you have a different job. You had maybe two homes. You have maybe a home where you're from, and maybe you live in a different home here, like an apartment or a different house. You also see that there's two different cultures. Everything is different. The thing is, when you can't identify with one, you can't stick with one. You're kind of in the in-between. You're not American, but you're also not where you're from, because when you go back home, maybe your home's not there. Maybe your friends aren't there. Maybe your family's not there. Your house, your neighborhood. These are things to think about, what it means to be an immigrant, because people come to America because they want freedom, land of opportunity, which it's here, but you have to work hard. It's not like you just come here and they're like, "This is here, these are all your stuff." No. You have to work hard for it. So immigrants drove the taxis and sold the beers and cokes. And when he found one note that rang true, he sang it over and over inside. "Coffee, honey." So he repeats the words that he knows. "Coffee, honey, coffee, honey." So he repeats the only words that he knows. His eyes roamed the couples at other booths, their loose banter and casual clothes. And so he's looking at these other couples, and he's lonely. He's sad. He's not in a couple. It doesn't say that the speaker has an aunt. He's not sitting with other people and talking and chatting. He's not having a good time. He doesn't feel like he belongs. He's an outsider. But he never became them. And so that's the thing, is he never felt part of here. So we're going to go and write that. So we're going to write our just sentence for number 3. And our just sentence is going to say, The uncle seems to be a simple man, comma, wore a white shirt every day of his life, period. He seems to be feeling frustrated at his situation, and that's the truth, guys. He's frustrated about his situation because he feels like an outsider, and it's not great to feel like an outsider. The uncle seems to be traveling back and forth from his homeland to America. The speaker is saying that even though immigrants have two homes, they don't really belong. And that's the thing, is if you're somebody like the uncle, you don't feel like you belong. You don't feel like you belong where you're from, and you don't feel like you belong here. And it's really sad. So we're going to put it over here, and if you're ready, or you need to, you can pause the video at this time. So now we're going to go and do stanza 4. Uncle who finally left in a bravado moment after 23 years to live in the old country forever, to stay and never come back. Maybe it would be peaceful now, maybe for one moment. I cannot tell you how my heart has settled at last, but he followed us to the sidewalk saying, take care, as if he could not stand to leave us. And so the uncle has had enough. He's been in the United States for 23 years. He wants to go home. He wants to be happy. You know, and so he goes and he lives in the old country, and he's going to stay, and he's never coming back. And it's going to be peaceful now, because before it wasn't peaceful. He says, I cannot tell you how my heart has settled at last. And that's all he wants. He wants peace. He wants acceptance. He wants his heart to settle. And so he's made up the decision, I'm going to go back because I don't belong here. And he goes to the sidewalk, and he brings the speaker there. He says, take care, as if he could not stand to leave us. And the thing is, you know, he's not saying to take care to them. It's for him, for himself, because he's scared. What if he goes and he doesn't belong? He can't return. And that's the whole point. You're kind of like the in-between. It's like, you know, like Cuban American or you know, like Colombian American. You don't identify with the Colombian and you don't identify with American. You kind of just identify with that hyphen, that thing that's in between. So we're going to come over here and we're going to write our fourth summary sentence. And so our fourth summary sentence is going to say, the uncle moves back to his homeland after 23 years. The uncle's homeland was not peaceful when he left, but he hopes it is now. And that's the thing. He's hopeful. He's hopeful. He wants everything to work out. Nobody goes back and, you know, says, I think this isn't going to work out, you know. So the uncle moves back to his homeland after 23 years. So at this point, you can pause the video if you need to. So the fifth stanza says, I cannot tell. So I'll show you what it looks like here if you need it for my Spanish-speaking classmates and friends. So I cannot tell. And the thing is, before we've seen it italicized when the uncle is talking, and now the uncle is not talking. So we're just going to write that. We're going to straight up write that, you know, because we need to figure out why is the uncle not talking to us anymore. So we're going to put the speaker is now saying, I cannot tell. So that's the thing, is now the speaker is talking to us. So we have to figure out why is it that the speaker is talking to us and not the uncle. So at this point, I'll tell you to pause the video if you need to. So over here, let's do the last one. How we felt to learn that the week he arrived, he died. Or how it is now, driving his parched streets, feeling the booth beneath us as we order. Oh, anything. Because if we don't, nothing will come. And that's why this poem is a little sad, because 23 years it took him to go back home. And he died the week that he arrived. And now the speaker is driving the streets, and the speaker's in the booth where he's in his favorite coffee shop, and, you know, they're ordering, and they just feel like they don't belong there now. They've inherited their uncle's sense of not belonging and sense of not being settled, and, you know, it's sad. It's a sad poem, but it's one of my favorites because it really talks about what it's like to be an immigrant. It's really hard for someone to go and teach you that, but it's a lot easier to read somebody else's experience and be like, oh, wow, that's really sad, and you can understand it a little bit better. I don't expect you guys, you know, to be like, yes, I get it, I totally do, this has changed my life, but I just want you to understand, it's hard being an immigrant and coming here. It's hard. Like packing everything up and just going and hoping it all works out. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to write our gist sentence. And so this is our last one. So, the uncle died a week after he moved back to his homeland. The speaker now has their uncle's sense of not belonging or feeling settled. And that's the thing. It's hard. And so, at this point, we've come to the end of actually writing the gist sentences. So if you need to pause it, please feel free to pause the video. So before we go to the next step. So now that we've reread it and we've wrote the gist sentences, this is where it comes to your part. I need you guys to write a 15-word summary of the poem. I need you guys to write a 15-word summary of the poem. It's not 14 words, it's not 16 words. So you're going to write a 15-word summary. It has to be 15 words. And it has to summarize the entire poem. I wish you luck. That is your assignment. And I will see you guys tomorrow for our poetry quiz. Bye!